Welcome here to Simple Scotch Reviews. Here we have Crown Royal Deluxe. It's a Canadian whiskey. I'm sure everyone who's ever had whiskey has heard of Crown Royal. It's the standard Crown Royal. The reason I decided to do this review was I couldn't remember the last time I tasted Crown neat or even on the rocks. So I have tasted it before, but early on I decided that its place for me was in mixing, not in the good to drink neat or on the rocks category. I relegated it to mixer status, but I decided it would be fair to revisit it and, have it neat for a change. And also, little preface here, I let it air out a long time in this snifter glass. I let it sit for a really long time. I'm not sure the exact amount of time, but give it at least an hour just to get it where I was at. Much better, I think, after you let it sit out for quite a while. It's 40% and there's no age statement. So on the nose, I get a sweetness for sure. Hint of vanilla, maybe a bit of caramel. The alcohol burn is minimal even for the proof. There's definitely a rye presence that's notable, which really stood out to me because, it makes sense, but I didn't remember getting a rye note, but it's been so long since I've had this whiskey neat. On the palate, this whiskey's sweet. There's a very faint hint of vanilla, but there's sweetness. Definitely a noticeable rye presence again for me, with a hint of spice. Not complex, but I didn't expect complexity coming into this. Finish is also very short. The spice note that I get probably lingers the longest. Overall, I can drink it neat. I had relegated it to mixer status. Still probably not one I'm going to reach for or request, but they have it everywhere. It'd be interesting to do a side-by-side with Jameson, because when you're at a bar that doesn't have a great whiskey selection of any kind, usually they always have Crown and Jameson. So it's just interesting to pick my go-to at a bar that has no whiskey selection, really, besides pretty much just Jameson and Crown. And Jameson, Crown, Jack, and Jim is what some bars, all they have. Sometimes Johnny Walker Red. And it'd be interesting to just do a side-by-side of these whiskeys in bars that don't have a whiskey selection. Normally I would have said Jameson would be the one I would go to out of all those, but Crown, the more I let it sit, but I don't want to let it sit that long at a bar before I start drinking it. And I had a sip early on before I let it sit, and it did not taste as good. So I think it definitely needs time to breathe here, but I don't see myself ever reaching for this one at home as just a sipper. It's probably still going to remain a mixer for me, which is interesting because generally there's whiskeys that I really like, and then I don't like them at all when I mix them. It's just interesting to see how mixing plays with that. I could love this single malt. If I try mixing it, don't like it mixed. I could like a bourbon or rye, and then if I put it in a cocktail, I don't like it. So it's just, there's whiskeys I like mixed, and there's whiskeys I like neat, and this one had only been in the mixer category, but it kind of goes in both. Not gonna say it's my favorite, not gonna say it's one I'm gonna go to a lot, but The rye part was interesting because, I mean, I knew that there'd be rye. It's just, I didn't remember the rye being so noticeable. But again, like any other whiskey experience, what you have for dinner, what you eat before it, and what you drink before, all those kind of things play into it. And maybe today I'm just noticing it more than other days. But letting it sit definitely made it better. I know lots of people, Crown's their go-to, but for me, it's not a go-to sipper. It's tolerable, and I would have it as a mixer. I like it in mixed drinks. So that's just my thoughts, and thanks for watching.